Do me a favor, bro. Hold this L.
Hold this L.
Hold this L.
Welcome to another episode of Hold This L. Good morning, people. This is your host, Lonnie and Cappel. Well, I'll say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening. It might not be in the morning. Either way, this is Hold This L with your host, Lonnie and Cappel. How you doing, man? What's going on?
Oh, what's up, bro? What's up, bro? Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Ready to get dived into the show. We got a good show this week. For all the people, I want to kind of put it out there before we get started. For all my Louisiana folks, if you don't know, FanDuel and DraftKings has went live in Louisiana. As of right now, you have to use your phone to reserve lineups and stuff. You can't do it on the computer. They're still working out some kinks. And the sports betting part of it is going to be coming shortly after. So for all y'all people who've been waiting to play DraftKings and FanDuel and different things like that, well, it's up and running. And if you're in Louisiana, so just want to give everybody a heads up on that.
Good information. Good information. That's a lot of people in Louisiana going to be some happy people, get to make some money. Hopefully we get some people to become some millionaires or just win lots of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, including me.
Exactly. Speaking of fantasy, how you been doing this year in fantasy? Daily fantasy.
As crazy as it sounds, just about 500. I'm actually 4-3 in both leagues. That I'm currently playing in, hoping to go 5-3 in both. But other than that, I mean, just rolling, man. You know how I go, dealing with a few injuries. Just made a big trade in one of my leagues that you're aware of. We in that same league. Some people agree with that trade, some people don't. But by the end of the year, we'll see how it works out. And maybe as we get into the show, I'll dive into telling people what that trade was, and maybe see if some of y'all want to give me some opinions back on what it was, or if you think it's a fair trade. Because my cousin definitely didn't, y'all. Just so you know.
How you doing in daily fantasy?
Yeah, about 50-50. I have my up and down days, one day I'll win, one day I'll lose. Kind of been going back and forth. So, I'm still kind of, I guess, I've been doing a lot better in football. I'm still trying to get the gist of basketball, the minutes, how some teams are playing and stuff like that. But it's starting to become a lot clearer coming into this second week than it was the first week. So I see myself ramping it up a little bit in the basketball and get a little bit more successful in that. What about you, bro?
Man, I've been doing real good in daily, especially basketball. Basketball has always been where I make my money. And the fact that they have games every day, it helps to build your bankroll up real quick. But I've been doing real good. The thing is being consistent and playing percentage of your bankroll. So like some days I get excited about my lineup and I'm gonna go all in, and I play about 75% of my bankroll, and then I lose, or I don't cash enough for it to be profitable, and then I'm like starting over, or I'm not necessarily starting over, but I backslide. So that's my issue. But as far as like my lineups, I mean, I'm putting together some quality lineups. My cash game's been good. I'm really been enjoying it so far. NBA season just starting. NFL season, I've been doing pretty good in there too. But again, unless you win in the tournaments, it's hard to build bankroll because you only have a few days of football, for cash games, and it ain't the same. But anyways, let's move on to some sports. We got a lot to talk about. Before we get started with anything, World Series is going on right now. I know we haven't talked a lot about baseball, but we are like huge baseball fans. Congratulations to Lonnie. His favorite two teams in baseball, the Atlanta Braves, which is his true team, and the Houston Astros, which is his adopted team. They both in the World Series. So, you can't get no better than that when your favorite teams are both in the championship. It's like win-win. You're just excited to watch. You don't have those feelings of getting pissed off because your team didn't get the gold. You just like, that's how I was when it was the Yankees and Dodgers a few years back. I was like, man, I'm good.
Look, and I want to be clear to all y'all fans out there who may say, of course he's a Houston Astros fan now. I became a Houston Astros fan when they sucked. Me and him personally went to the game together for our birthdays, and we sat in the front row for $50 a ticket, and we were 3 rows from the field. So keep in mind, I became a fan before they became good and World Series champs. They had a losing record when I became a fan. So just so y'all know that.
Yeah, they sucked. That was about 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah,
it was right before they hit that spurt.
Look, you remember we were even in the stadium and they were letting people know the tickets gonna go up the next year because they were coming. People could see them coming, but they weren't there. So I want y'all to know I did not just jump on the bandwagon after the World Series.
Yeah, but yeah, so great World Series action. Braves up 3-1 right now. So that look good for the Astros, but you never know. You never know. Anyways, let's jump into this football. So a couple weeks back, me and you, we had this conversation about who had the best 3-headed monster in football, and you thought you argued that it was Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams, and I argued that it wasn't clear because they had some people who were better at certain positions. And they had 3 good people, and you could just argue the production. And there was a game last night where we got to see Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams. We don't normally get to see him without his stud, and and we know Devontae Adams, or vice versa. Devontae Adams make Rodgers look good, or Rodgers make Devontae Adams look good, which we know they both just great. But we had Rodgers. He had this game without Devontae Adams. He lost his second best receiver. His previous second best receiver was already on IR. So all he had as a weapon was Aaron Jones. So, let's talk more about, Rodgers and Brady, because when we discussed this, we did get into a lot of Rodgers versus Brady, even though it was more about the 3-headed monsters on the team. And you specifically had some points that you wanted to address. So I want to hear those points. Tell us what those points are. Tell the listening people what those points are.
Okay. I mean, I won't say points, as more as just obvious facts. I figured you liked that one. Okay. We talked about right now, if we had to pick Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but you said you would pick Tom Brady.
Right now, as in this year, not like
right. No.
Okay,
like right now, right? We talking about as of the way they're playing right now. If we had to pick them right now, I saw what Tom Brady has looked like when you give him the weapons Aaron Rodgers had the other night, and let's keep in mind against the Cardinals defense, who's one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. And they were handed their first loss by Aaron Rodgers with no Devontae Adams and his number 1 wide receiver being a part of that 3-headed monster that I was telling you about, Aaron Jones. He literally was his number 1 wide receiver. Bet you Leonard Fournette can't do that. But that's neither here nor there. But basically what I'm saying is Aaron Rodgers is that good. You can give him nothing at this stage of his career, vice versus a Tom Brady, where if you give him nothing to work with but a running back, they're probably going to lose, especially if they're playing one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, this conversation would be completely different if Aaron Rodgers had been playing the Jaguars. I'd have no argument whatsoever. But to be able to put up 24 points against a stout Arizona Cardinals defense without your top 3 receivers, I don't see how you can argue that the reigning MVP is not clearly better than Tom Brady at this stage of their careers right now.
Yeah, I like how you did that. You threw in top 3 receivers. You threw in one of the best defenses in the league. So first of all, let's go back. Let's pull some receipts. Just a couple weeks ago, you were saying that Arizona, you weren't high on them. You didn't want high on them as the number 1 team because you thought don't say nothing. Let me finish.
I know where you're going.
Because you said that you didn't think their defense was for real. Now, all of a sudden, you believe they're one of the top defenses in the league. I'm gonna throw that out. Number 1. Number 2, Devontae Adams is the weapon, not Alan Lazard or Marcus Valdez-Scantling. The drop-off between Alan Lazard and Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Equanimeous Brown and Amari Rodgers is not that much, because when he has all three of them, they get like 3 or 4 targets together. And then Devontae Adams getting 8 to 12, 13 targets, and Aaron Jones getting a lot of those, and Robert Tonyan getting a lot of those. So it's Devontae Adams is the weapon that's missing. So let's not throw 3 receivers in like he got a Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, and a Stephon Diggs. He got a Devontae Adams and a bunch of people that wouldn't even be factors on nobody else's team. So that's number 2. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers is great. He played great for what he had, but he also threw 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's not act like he just went out there and killed it with the weapons that he had. There was a specific game plan in place, and that game plan barely worked, because if Aaron Green turns around, there's either a catch or a drop, not an interception, a catch or a drop, and we're going to overtime or the game is over. And now we're not even having this conversation today because you probably wouldn't have brought it up. So let's not act like what he did was amazing. He played good for what he needed to do. Aaron Rodgers, that game did exactly what you saw Tom Brady do when he was with the New England Patriots in the couple of years he didn't have the weapons. And on those 2 years, one of them, he went to the Super Bowl, and one, he made the playoffs, and they lost in the second round because they had the first round that bye. So it's not like Tom Brady didn't play great without weapons. He just looked like he was declining without weapons because we were used to something else. As soon as you gave him weapons, he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so he played pretty bad without the weapons this last year in New England.
It was bad by Tom Brady standards. What we saw with Aaron Rodgers was bad by Aaron Rodgers' standards. If Aaron Rodgers went a whole year with those kind of stats, we would not be saying Aaron Rodgers top quarterback in the league. We would be saying, is he declining? Like, what's going on? The same thing. That's the same thing we'll be saying. But he had a whole. This is a 1 game sample. This is not a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game sample. Tom Brady went a whole year without weapons, and he still won a division. Still made the playoffs with the number 1 or 2 seed to get a bye, and they just lost in the second round of the playoffs.
I think the first round, didn't they?
Well, if they didn't get a bye, they didn't get a bye in the first round, so I can't remember if he got a bye.
All Tom Brady had to do for the last 20 years in New England is wake up, and they were going to win their division. So, that's neither here nor there. But I will say this. I did make that comment, and I will give you that, the comment I made about the Cardinals, and that was a couple of weeks ago. But the Cardinals have so far since then proved me to be wrong. Well, they keep playing great.
Your point about them being one of the best defenses, it's correct, because I argued that they are already one of the defenses. But I'm just saying, for you to throw that out there after you just said that, that's why I brought that up.
But my thing is 22 of 37 for 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions is a pretty good game against that Arizona Cardinals defense without your best receiver. Now let's just say, okay, I'll give you that the 2 receivers in Alan Lazard and what's his name? Marcus Valdez-Scantling. I'll give you that. I think it's a little bit more drop off from Valdez-Scantling to the other ones, but I'll still give you that. But let's keep in mind the one that he doesn't have. Let's forget about all of them. The one he doesn't have is the best in the NFL, arguably.
Okay, yeah.
But you cannot sit here and tell me you can't make an argument about it.
No, you can't. There's only a couple of people that's in the conversation
with him.
2, maybe 3.
With that being said, not having him going against that Arizona Cardinals defense to still be able to go 22 or 37 with 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Keep in mind, I know you had pressure on you because you only averaged 5 yards a pass. So I know you probably wasn't getting very good blocking. All you had was Aaron Jones. But they ran the ball decently. I mean, A.J. Dillon, who much love to you called out as, another one of the 2-headed monsters of him and Aaron Jones. And he had a really good game. He averaged almost right at 5 yards to carry that game.
So let's break this really down. Let's break this really down. Let's really break it down.
But none of that happens without Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers' game, the game plan was you didn't see nothing going down the field. Why is that? No deep threats, no separations. Exactly. You saw a lot of short passes. Why is that? Time passes, easy to move the ball down the field. You had 2 running backs, one that you use as a pass catcher, one that primarily ran the ball. That sounds very, very similar. Tom Brady, when he had the same type of team, never threw the ball down the field. They thought his arm strength was gone, but he didn't have no deep threats. He had N'Keal Harry. He had Julian Edelman. So Julian Edelman was getting a lot of short routes. Running backs. He had James White, pass catcher. And I can't remember who the other running back was, but that was the one they gave the ball to run. It's the same exact formula.
Yeah,
the same thing.
Difference is
Green Bay did the same thing,
but
and they both were successful doing it.
Tom Brady wasn't successful against good teams. Not against top defenses. He wasn't. If you looked at him, that's always been. Not only when he
won games against some good defenses and he lost games against some good defenses.
Dude, he played three of the weakest teams twice in the NFL.
You're right. That's 6 games.
That helped.
They lost 5. That's 6 games. They lost 5. There's another 5 games. They won
11-5.
They won 11-5 that year. They made the playoffs. They
that
still
last
won
year
a division.
He was there?
Yeah, they still won a division. And like I said, if AJ Green turns around, this is a totally different conversation. Possibly that play was so crucial to that win that if he turns around, now there's still a chance they win because if he misses it, they kick a field goal and they probably go into overtime. Maybe he missed a field goal and they still win. We don't know what would have happened, but we do know that play was an anomaly of thing. Like that was an anomaly. Like that's something that just don't happen.
Aaron Rodgers still a bad man, bro.
And I never said he wasn't. But when we talk about
the Tom Brady,
listen, as a talent, Aaron Rodgers has always been better to me than Tom Brady. I've always said that, but that's the only thing I would give him because Tom Brady, this is the thing. There's people we like to look at certain things, and what we like when we see it determines what we think is better or not. But there's evidence that goes to it as well. Tom Brady has these intangibles that Aaron Rodgers just does not have. The leadership, the way that he brings teams together, the way that he works, like those things go into making you the best or better than somebody else. And I believe that's what sets him apart from Rodgers. His ability to be able to win at every level, wherever he goes and whatever he does, to me, that's what sets him apart from Rodgers. That's why I would take Tom Brady. That's always why I would take Tom Brady. It took me a while to come to that realization about Tom Brady, because I would look at it, I'd be like, man, this dude, he's good, but they got this person that look better, Peyton Manning. He does this, but now at the end of the day, Tom Brady has what it takes as the whole package. So that's all I ever argued about Tom Brady. But anyways, if you want to add something else, we can, but we got to move on after that.
Oh no, I mean, I don't have nothing to add. I mean, you and I both know that's why it's a debate show. We not gonna agree most of the time when it comes to this kind of stuff. That's the whole point in us talking about it. So I mean, I think I made a valid point. You made some good points, but we both did. Of course, to all the listeners, y'all know the truth. Y'all know who the better out of the two right now if you had to pick. But no, man, let's go on to the next segment, bro. Good segment. Let's what we got.
So we are about 2 weeks in with basketball, and it's been exciting. But the top 2 teams that's just like that people are really expecting to win the championship. Like I don't know what the odds are in Vegas. Maybe the Bucks are number 1 because they won the championship. But if you watch basketball, like we watch basketball, you know that there was a lot that happened last year that dictated who got to the finals and who won. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Not even going to go into the details, but there's a lot that happened as far as injuries and, just things that normally don't happen in a year. And it just like all happened in 1 year. Now we have everybody back healthy for the most part. And the top 2 teams that I believe in most people's mind, Lakers, the Nets. That's what most people believe are the top 2 teams. And both of those teams have started off slow, haven't looked great. Why is that, man? What's your thoughts on what's going on with those 2 teams?
2 things. And I think it's 2 completely different things for both teams. For the Lakers, in my opinion, it's chemistry. I mean, it's just learning how to play together. Last couple of games, they've looked a lot better versus the first 2 games. But they're also not playing defense like I expected them to play or accustomed to play. Just looking at the stats, the Lakers are actually giving up more points to their opponents than they're scoring. That's not something I expect to see when you have LeBron James, AD, Russell Westbrook, and your host of people that you have. I do expect, maybe the chemistry and y'all to be able to, the defense maybe not be great in the beginning, but you do have Frank Vogel, who's supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and to see y'all averaging 115 points a game versus your opponents averaging 116. And let's be clear, you ain't been playing opponents like the Brooklyn Nets and you're playing lower level opponents. I mean, we blew a 26-point lead to the Pelicans the other night. There's things like that are just unacceptable. Those are things that I say are not chemistry issues. It's just lack of focus or effort or whatever you want to blame it on. I know LeBron wasn't playing that game, but he shouldn't have had to. They didn't need him. For Brooklyn, in my opinion, the biggest issue that I have with them is James Harden and him making the adjustment. Obviously not having Kyrie, but James Harden is going through an adjustment period where, he's not getting the foul calls that he used to get. The NBA, obviously, if any of y'all are familiar with the NBA, they changed the rules. They're not allowing offensive players to jump into the defensive players no more or create the contact. It's not a foul anymore if the offensive player creates the contact. Well, if a lot of y'all know, that's one of the ways James Harden made his living is getting through the free throw line by by causing contact, and he's not getting a lot of those calls. So I think he's going through a big adjustment period. So, I mean, when it's all said and done, I think they still will be the top teams. I think for two completely different reasons, they're struggling right now, but I think they'll both figure it out. A little bit more than Brooklyn. I don't think it's all on James Harden. Let me be clear about that. I think they do have some new pieces that they brought in too, and team players that have to get acclimated. And of course, they're starting the season without one of their best players that they were not expecting not to start the season with. So, a lot of that stuff goes into play. But for the Lakers, for me, it's just chemistry. It's just going to take some time because the last couple of games, they look like I expected them to look starting out. So, and Russell Westbrook has looked like Russell Westbrook the last couple of games. So I think he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable and acclimated. So I think both of them will be fine in the long run.
Yeah, for me, it's about the same chemistry. It's chemistry for the most part for both of them. For me, like I think back with Brooklyn last year, and although Brooklyn had, they played together last year, there was a lot of games that they missed. Specifically Kevin Durant and Harden playing together. There was a lot of Kevin Durant and Irvin and Harden. Harden and Kevin Durant like a little triangle because they would sit out and then play in certain games. Harden was hurt and then Irvin was hurt and then Durant was managing his issue that he had with his ACL being torn, his Achilles being torn the year before. So I believe that there's still chemistry issues that they're having to get to. As far as that team goes, they got Blake Griffin later in the year. He missed a lot of games management because of his age and his injuries in the past. LaMarcus Aldridge was only there for a few games, and then he ended up retiring, and he came back. So now he's there, but chemistry. So that's still a new team for the most part, And now they're learning how to play without Kyrie, who knows if he's going to come back. I don't anticipate him playing a game this year with Brooklyn unless he changes his mind. And that just don't seem like something that's going to happen. So I don't anticipate Kyrie coming back. So they're learning how to play with the thought process that this is our team. Kyrie is not going to be here. And like you say, the free throw rules, those things do matter because a big part of Harden's game was his ability to get to the free throw line. He don't have the same physical attributes that Kevin Durant have. Kevin Durant can just pull up on anybody, anywhere, anytime. It don't matter who you are. James Harden depends on those free throws. If you take away a lot of his free throws throughout his career, you're going to see a big difference in his points per game. Doesn't mean he can't adapt and overcome. It's just that was his game. So he's learning how to manage. He had a really good game the other day where he had like 28 points. That was like the best game he's had so far. So
and he got to the free throw line though.
Yeah. So that's evidence that he could be getting, his feet under him and getting used to it. Right. But I think it's just a chemistry thing. I will say this, and I'm going on a record, and and we can pull this receipt at the end of the year. But I don't see Brooklyn as a top 1-2 team. I see Brooklyn as a 3 at the most, but maybe 4 or 5. I'm gonna tell you why. Is because with Kyrie, their physical ability to just score as a group, they didn't really have to play basketball. They didn't have to play team basketball. They didn't have to learn how to really work together, because one of them is going to be on most nights, 2 of them on, and it probably been very possible that all 3 of them would have been on, on most nights, because they're just that good group of a shooting team. When you take one of those players off and then you have the supporting cast that they have, that to me, that changes it all up. Miami is for real. We already know the Bucks are for real. I still think Philly is going to be a really good team. Ben Simmons is going to come back. If he gets traded, then they're going to add a piece that can make them even better.
Even if he don't come back, they're looking pretty good.
So when I look at Brooklyn Nets, they don't play defense, and they don't have the people to become a defensive team, in my opinion. They don't have the personnel. Like the Lakers, they're not playing defense, but they got defenders. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of putting it together and, like you say, applying that effort.
Right.
But Brooklyn, they don't have defenders. They're not going to be a good defensive team. It's just not going to happen. I see them as like, I really, unless Kevin Durant becomes a leader that I have not seen from him, and I'm talking about carrying the team on his back through a year. Like what he did against
We've seen him do it in
Milwaukee.
The playoffs.
We've seen him do it in the playoffs, but can he do that for a whole year where he's taking the blunt of everything? I don't know. I'm worried about his I'm worried about his psyche to have to do that for a whole year. I haven't seen it, and he's very sensitive, so I don't know. But if he doesn't, then but yeah, go ahead.
He won't have to for the whole year. All he needs to do it for, at least in my opinion, is at least half the year. Because I'm not going to make no excuse for him, because we saw James Harden kill it in Houston out of shape. He can still do it, but he was getting foul calls and stuff. Well, I'm going to tell you one of the problems. James Harden ain't been in shape either. If you watched any sports show or listen to any kind of, he's been out of shape. He's not in shape, and he's not getting the calls, which is kind of the double frustration. But one thing I'm going to let you know, when Harden get in shape, when he really get in basketball shape, I don't care who you are, you're not stopping him. And he can be that guy that I truly feel like he can be that guy that we're saying Kevin Durant needs to be.
He could be. And if that's the case, then, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're not going to be a force in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're not going to fake the finals. I said I believe they're going to be a 4 team, a 4 or 5.
No.
That's what I mean.
I understand.
Yeah. And the reason why I believe that is because I don't believe that he's going to have that mentality to have to carry the team to be great over the year. Like Giannis, he go out there every game playing like he's carrying his team. That's why they're number 1 seed most years, because they go out there trying to win. Like some games, you're going to clearly see Durant just out there shooting the ball and not really like pushing his teammates and not really leading. And the same thing with Harden. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by I don't think they're gonna be a 4 or 5 team. You see a team like Miami, they built on defense. They're gonna come out there. They got a coach that pushes that. I'm still on the fence with Steve Nash, but it did to the Lakers. It's just chemistry. When they put it all together, that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Right.
A good thing, LeBron being out for those 2 games was really good, because it helped Russell Westbrook get his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Because when LeBron came back, that was the best game that they had as a team offensively. Now the defense, you got some things to work on with their defense, and I know they played against Cleveland, but sometimes you got to play against bad teams to see how it looks, to see how it all comes together, and then you just start working on it from there.
I'm gonna tell you,
so
Melo looking good too.
Oh yeah, he is.
Melo is looking a lot better.
And they got some pieces.
Melo got a lot more left in the tank.
Yeah. Like Kendrick Nunn, he's gonna be good off the bench. He ain't there yet. Wayne Ellington, a shooter, he just coming back. So they got some pieces that's not there yet. And once they get it all together, we're gonna start seeing what everybody was like expecting to see from a championship caliber team.
Yeah, I know we got to go to our next segment, but I'm really impressed with Melo. Feel like Melo been holding back, or maybe the team just hadn't been required to, but Melo driving to the basket and finishing.
Melo is motivated. Melo can see a ring. He can see a ring. He can see it. Bro, this is the first time in his career where he's on a team where I know he says to himself, we can win a ring. He probably was glad to be on Portland because Portland was a winning team. But in the back of your mind, as a professional, you always say we can win. But you know what you're up against with certain teams.
Right.
When you on the team that's expected to do it, you can see it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so he can see a ring. So he gonna go out.
I mean,
this boy
hitting baseline, going past people and stuff. I'm like, I didn't know Melo could still do that. Like, okay. So that spot up jump, he is not just a spot up jump shooter, y'all. Melo still can be Melo when Melo want to be. And I also heard he was in the best shape of his career probably in the last 5 years. But I just want.
Yeah.
He do look good
out there.
He do look good, man. He look a lot better than he has. But man, let's get on to this next segment, bro.
Yeah, so fire and smoke segment. We got a couple of, so fire and smoke, we talked about. I'm gonna introduce it again because there's still a new segment. So we bring up some topics and we discuss whether it's fire, meaning that it's for real, or whether it's smoke, meaning that it's just, some fog. It looked like it's good, but it ain't really there. So still on the NBA. Now, it's just a couple of weeks in. Most teams only play 5 or 6 games, but we got 3 teams sitting at the top in the East, and they look pretty good. Like they got winning records. They 5-1. That's the Charlotte Hornets, the Washington Wizards, and the Chicago Bulls.
The Hornets are 4-2. The Hornets are 4-2.
Yeah, thank you. And now the Bulls, do look Bulls. They got DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Vucevic, starting 4. And Patrick Williams, Patrice Williams, whatever you want to call his name. I think it's Patrice, whatever. But he's out. He's season-ending injury. But I mean, he's a second-year player, and I'm pretty sure they can fill that void with no problem. But the Wizards, they got Spencer Dinwiddie, running the floor as the point guard, and Bradley Beal is healthy. They got Montrezl Harrell, who's coming off the bench, even though he started the last 2 games. He looked good starting. I wonder if that's going to change.
He looked good. Period.
They still don't have Thomas Bryant back, but that's going to add to it. And then they got Kyle Kuzma and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And then you got Charlotte, who basically had the same team. They just a young team, and they're in year 2 with that youth outside of Gordon Hayward. Is it fire or smoke, man? Are these 3 teams for real?
I think it depends on the team.
Well, let's talk about each one.
Washington, I'm starting to think that Lakers trade was a win-win for both teams. Washington don't look like they fake. They look for real. Kuzma's playing better. Bill's playing. Bill is the leader, unquestioned leader of that team, and it shows, and they follow him. And they look good, like really good. Like, I mean, when I say really good, I mean like point differential where you're averaging 112.7 points a game versus the teams you're playing scoring 108.5. That might not sound like a lot, but in basketball, guys, a 6-point differential by teams is actually pretty impressive. So I mean, with that being said, I think Washington is for real, man. I really do. I mean, they can score with the best of them. They got the scores. They can play defense. They the real deal. But I'm gonna tell you who I'm talking about. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling receipts on this right now. Top 3 seed, Chicago. Chicago will be a top 3 seed, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's their defense. The teams are averaging under 100 points a game against Chicago. I mean, I think they're right now they're at 98.8. Obviously, I'm sure that probably won't stay like that for the year. But if you look at the team they have around them, they're long, and they play defense, and they have score. They have everything you want. They have a true point guard. You have a true shooting guard. DeMar DeRozan as a 3, I guess you could kind of go back and forth with LaVine and DeRozan as a 2 and a 3, depending on how you want to look at that team. They kind of interchangeable with their power forward position. And Vooch, we all know what Vooch brings to the table. I mean, he a beast, one of the best centers in the NBA. So I think the Bulls got something coming good, man. I'm very impressed with the way they structured that team, and they just sneakily just built them a strong team, man. Charlotte, on the other hand, I see smoke with Charlotte. I see a lot of smoke, man. I need to see more from Charlotte as a team. I mean, the points right now, they're averaging 117 points a game. I think that'll go down. I think they have been pretty hot, but they're also giving up 115 points a game. I don't think that's a winning formula. So, I mean, even though they're 4-2 right now, I just don't see them keeping that pace going. I think they're a young team, they're energized, but I don't that's the one team out of the three that I think is smoke. It's fire all the way in my opinion with Washington and Chicago, but clear smoke with Charlotte.
Man, let me get all this smoke out of my face because that's all this is. All three of them, nothing but smoke. And let me tell you why. You nailed it with Charlotte. Look, these teams, they can make the playoffs 6, 7, 8. But I'm talking about is this fire smoke where they are right now. Right now, they're like right at the top.
I told you, I called you top 3, Chicago. They will finish in the top 3.
Let me start with them. Chicago. First game, Pistons. Second game, Pelicans. First game, Pistons. Third game, Pistons. Fourth game, Raptors. Fifth game, Knicks. Last night, Jazz. Pistons, really. Pelicans, really. They won both of those. Pistons, again, really. They won that too. Raptors, really. Raptors is trash. We can sit up there and hang on to the fact that they won a championship 2 years ago. They are not the same team. Knicks, bona fide. They lost.
They're not trash, though, man.
Next. Raptors are not that good.
No, but they're 4-3. I mean, they're not trash. I mean,
okay,
they're not a great
they're not
team.
Trash.
But
they're not trash. They're not trash, but they're not that good.
Yeah, I get it.
The Knicks, good team, and the Knicks won. The Jazz, without Mike Conley, but they beat the Jazz, so I give them credit for that. So they got, in my opinion, they got one quality win. That's not enough for me to say that they're really going to be really good. They are going to be much better than last year, which is why I could see them right at the 5-6 seed. Mm-hmm. But sitting at the top, number 3 seed, I give you props if you're right, but I don't think they're going to be close to that. I just don't believe that at all.
What 3 teams do you put ahead of them, or 4 teams?
Bucks, Bucks, Heat, possibly 76ers, Nets. Those 4 teams.
See, and
the Heat Heat gonna be for real.
Listen to me. I was with you with 2 of those teams. The Brooklyn is not. I'm sold on being a top 3 team, and neither am I sold on. Who was that?
I'm sold on Brooklyn. I said Brooklyn 4 or 5 seed.
But that's what I'm saying. Chicago will be in the top 3. Who will be ahead of them?
I said Bucks, Heat, 76ers, Nets. Not necessarily in that order.
No, I'm just saying, but you're saying
to be ahead of the Bulls.
4 or 5
teams.
But that's why I was looking at it. When you said 4 or 5 teams for Brooklyn or the Nets, I agree with you. Now I'm agreeing with that. I'm just saying, they'll be the 4 or 5 seed. The team that I'm concerned about that's at that top that you're putting in that number, that top 4 is Philadelphia. I'm not sure about Philadelphia being in that top 4. I can see them being a 5 seed this year.
I think Philly. Well, and I understand your concern with Philly because we got to see more based on where they are as a team right now. But I think at the end of the day, they're gonna be there.
And you may be right. I mean, it's all speculation here at this time. But if you had to ask me right now, if I had to pick who were the best 3 teams in the East, even not based off of who's at the top, but the best 3 teams in the East, if I had to pick right now, and a lot of people will probably tell me I'm crazy when I say this. Actually, I'm gonna put 4 in there because I feel like I need to give them their respect.
And the Knicks, I forgot about them.
That's
the Knicks.
And that's what I was about to say. To me, my top 4 teams right now is Miami, New York, Milwaukee, and Atlanta.
And I could see that. I could go with that top 4. I mean, my Atlanta right now is not necessarily playing as a top 4.
Their defense. That's why I put them up there. Their defense is amazing. If once the offense comes along, and like I said, me and you kind of talked about even with the James Harden struggles, just fouls in general. I think it's affecting who. I think we're going to talk about that here in a second. But I think that's a problem too. And when those adjustments come and they start scoring, like we know the Hawks can, they're going to be one of them teams because you don't score easily on the Atlanta Hawks. They for real when it comes to defense. They play defense.
Yeah. And Charlotte, I don't really have to say much about them. They're a young team. I can see them squeaking into the playoffs at the 8 seed, maybe 7. But I just think they got a hot start, and I think it's going to slow down. The Wizards, they're going to make the playoffs. The Wizards going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs at one of those bottom seeds. They're definitely not going to be at the top. They're looking pretty good right now. Kyle Kuzma's playing really well. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's okay. He had a good game the other day, but overall, he ain't really just he playing like KCP.
Yeah, KCP gonna do KCP.
He playing like KCP. They ought to stop calling that boy KCP because when you get like a nickname, even though it's just his initials, it's like you get a nickname so because people recognize you. Man, your name Contavious Caldwell Pope. Call that boy Contavious. Don't call him KCP.
He got KCP.
Call him KCP
before he in Detroit.
I know. I know they called him that
Detroit.
because his name was hard to pronounce. But we all know his name is Contavious.
No, but even in Detroit, I could say in Detroit he deserved his initials. You know, he deserved his little nickname.
In Detroit, because when he went to the Lakers, people was like, okay, that's not a bad pickup.
But we got KT.
Okay.
Yeah, he lost it. He lost them initials.
But anyways, like Spencer Dinwiddie was a good addition. You know,
he's not even playing well, man. He's the one player
it's off and on.
It's been up and down. You know,
like out of the 6 games, he's had like 3 good ones and 3 bad ones.
Yeah, and that's impressive.
Mediocre ones, not bad.
You wouldn't have expected they'd be 5-1 if you said that about Spencer Dinwiddie, because you expect him to be one of them cognitive pieces. But they got us depth, man.
And they beat the Raptors. They beat the Pacers, which the Pacers is straight run and gun. They lost to the Nets. They beat the Celtics twice, which the Celtics people
they're not bad.
They're not bad, but I think the people look at the Celtics more in what they think they should be and less in what they really are.
Well, if you watched that game last night, went, I think, triple overtime. That was an amazing double overtime. That was an amazing game by Boston and Washington.
And then the Wizards beat the Hawks. So the Wizards, to me, have more quality wins than the Bulls. So that's why I'm like, I'm still saying it's still smoke to me, because again, we're talking about at the top, you know, are they that team? They're not.
Right.
But I think the Wizards, they're good. They're playing really well. They beat some quality teams, had some quality games. They did get blew out by the Nets, so that's not a positive thing. But when you really want to judge somebody against really quality,
but wasn't that the game Bill missed though? Because I know one of those games Bill didn't play.
I don't think that was a game Bill missed.
Okay, because I know he missed. I know he missed one of them though.
He was there for that one. Yeah.
Okay.
He was there for that one.
But I will tell you, I will say this just to kind of wrap this up. The East is catching up. It's not the weak East no more. You know, the East can compete. You know, you're not looking at it saying right now. I mean, I just remember just a few years ago, it was whoever come out the West winning the championship. Especially once LeBron left the East, you know, it was like whoever come out the West winning the championship. Well, the East is catching up. I mean, if y'all are watching and y'all are paying attention to basketball, it ain't like you got 3 good teams in the East and the rest of them are just kind of. You got a legit.
They legit
6 teams
legit 6
in the East that can compete for a championship. Like, seriously.
Well, I wouldn't say compete for a championship.
No, but you know what I mean. What I mean is they can compete. They can compete a champion. It's a tough. They can beat a championship team. I mean, in the 7-game series, you're not.
You've always had, even in the West, there was only like 3 teams that you looked at and said, "It's all of these 3 teams that's going to win the championship." But the teams as a whole, from like 1 to like 10, you were like
they
these
all
teams
good.
Tough. You just know these teams from 4 on down. While they're good, you know they're not going to beat the Warriors. You know they're not going to beat the Rockets. But the East is starting to look like that now.
Exactly.
You got about 6 to 7 teams, maybe 8, depending on how the rest of this year go, where you can say this is a tough division. Even though these are the top 2 teams or 3 teams, this is a tough division. So yeah, it's starting to get more like that.
It's more competitive. I like to me, the NBA is getting a lot more competitive. The teams, you know, we still talk about these super teams and all that stuff, but I think these teams are getting a lot more balanced. We talk about the super teams, but it seemed like if you look at most teams now, all of them got at least 1 or 2 superstars these days. I mean, it's kind of like you're gonna have to have
amount of talent in the NBA is I even read an article this year. It's unprecedented.
Yeah,
the amount of talent in the NBA is ridiculous.
And I say superstars. Let me correct myself on that. There's not every team with 2 superstars, but there's every team in the league got 2 really, really good players.
Yeah, everybody, not every team. Well, I'm not gonna say not every team, but most teams, if not every team, has players on there with star talent. Like depending on how things go, depending on how good the coaching is, depending on how well the teams gel together, we could be talking about one of these players being a superstar by the end of the year. Because that's all it comes down to is if you're winning, people are going to start seeing you more. And because they start seeing you more, talking about you more, that's what's going to put you in the conversation of being a star or a superstar. So the talent is there. It's just what's going to happen as the team develops and as the year goes along.
Sabonis, I just want to give him his props. Y'all, if y'all don't watch him or follow him, Domantas Sabonis is a superstar.
Sabonis,
He
I
ain't.
mean, he's like it's
He's
like
bona fide.
the way he plays and for his position is like Jokic here, Sabonis here. They have the same kind of game.
Yeah.
You know,
Jokic is just bigger.
Jokic is bigger, and he's on the team that is winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, if the Pacers were winning, we would be
keep in mind. Let me let y'all know. I'm calling now. The Pacers are not as trash as their 1-6 record show. They just getting Karis LeVert back. Malcolm Brogdon hadn't been healthy. They got a lot of people. The Pacers will be better, y'all, than what their record show this year. They
stay healthy. That's
if Karis LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon can stay healthy, they'll compete.
Big ass if.
Yeah, you're right about that. Karis LeVert get hurt every year.
Next up, so they got a new rule in the NBA, you know, free throw rule. And there's been a lot of talk about whether it's been affecting the league, in particular, a couple of players who we know get to the free throw line pretty much at will, and James Harden and Trae Young. Mm-hmm. So they're both having slow starts. Do you think that the slow start is a product of the free throw rule, or is this just smoke?
No, it is completely a product. It is straight fire. It is completely when you have two guards. I need y'all to understand this for people who don't know basketball. Guards don't usually lead the NBA in going to the free throw line. That's and I know the game has changed from big men and stuff like that. But let me be clear to y'all. There's still a couple of big men in the league who play in the paint, like Joel Embiid. Like, you know, Jokic go out, but he still plays in the paint. You got guys like Trae Young and James Harden doubling. I mean, James Harden's free throws have doubled anybody else every year. Like he's 100 or 200 free throws, and I may be exaggerating a little bit on that. I don't know the exact statistic, but he's every year head over heels, way ahead of everybody else in free throw shooting. And that's when you got a 7'2" center in Joel Embiid, and he's going to the line more than him. And if you watch basketball, y'all, they beat the crap out of Joel Embiid. He's like our new age Shaq without the dominance, but he's that big and that skilled. So he gets fouled a lot, and they go to the line a heck of a lot more than. Have y'all ever seen Trae Young's size? If you look at him on TV, he looked like he's my size. I mean, I know he's bigger. He's like 5'10", 5'11", 180 pounds. But I can tell y'all, weight-wise, I weigh more than Trae Young. He gets to the free throw line more than anybody else in the NBA besides James Harden. Yes, it's affecting them. It's fire. They're not getting those calls where you can bump into players, run into players, create the actual contact, which has become a big thing in the NBA. And for me, I love it. I'm actually absolutely loving the new rules where you actually have to use your talent and not just bait defenders into trying to foul you to get to the line.
Yeah, this is fire, and I agree. I like it too. I hated those free throw those foul calls where you get to go shoot 2 free throws because of that, what you want to call it, savviness or whatever. You know, you basically were just using the rules and you were manipulating the way the rule was intentionally, you know, written. So they had to rewrite the rules because the league saw it as a problem. I'm sure players saw it as a problem. And while Harden and Trae Young benefited from it, a lot of other players benefited from it. Steph Curry benefited from it. You know, he just didn't benefit from it as much. You know, but yeah, so a lot of players benefited from it, and I'm glad they changed it. Now I know part of the conversation is, are the refs like being too insensitive to the contact? You know, like, are they like going overboard? Well, they're refs, and this is a new rule. They need time to adjust. I'm pretty sure they have meetings. They get memos. They sit and watch film. It's going to be a balance. You know, you're probably going to see James Harden, Trae Young, other players going to the free throw line a little more than they have this year, but it's not going to be clearly not going to be as much as they have in the past. So it's just an adjustment period, but I think it's better for the game. It's better for the league. You know, I mean, it's just better in general. So
I agree.
Definitely fire.
And just to throw it out there, hey, y'all, Steph Curry don't need that. You know, I'm just
He don't
putting
need
that
it,
out there.
but
You know,
no, he don't
used
need it.
it. He
used it because
but
it's always
he could.
an advantage.
But he was more of
a
he used it more of an advantage of flopping at the 3-point line, trying to get them foul calls after he fall or something like that. You didn't see him jumping into people and stuff a lot. You know, going to the paint and stuff like with James Harden.
He didn't,
but
because he didn't
he
have
baited
to.
people. Yeah,
he didn't have
he
to.
didn't
He
have
didn't. Steph Curry wasn't a. It's not that he can't. He just doesn't have to take you off the dribble a lot with his shot because of how far he shoots and how good he shoots, and the other people on his team. You know, when you got somebody like Klay Thompson who catch and shoot, you got Draymond Green who facilitates. So a lot of Steph Curry, he don't have to be dribble, and then try to create a shot.
He actually does it the exact opposite.
He could do it. He could do it if he needed to. He just
he get his shots. He get his shots in more ways than any other NBA player. He get them off screens. He get them off posts. He get them off fast breaks. He is that player where you can't guard him. That's why he is so great, because he don't just come down the court, pull up and shoot. He can play on off the ball. He can do whatever you want him to do. That's one of the things. Great thing about Kyrie too. Shout out to Kyrie, even though you ain't playing, but he one of the rare players that can do that also.
Fire Smoke, Bengals, they're the number 1 seed over the Ravens, over the Steelers, over the Browns.
Over everybody.
Fire Smoke.
Man, I got to ride with Joe Burrow, man. It's fire, bro. He has clearly shown us he's a winner. And not only they don't have a great defense. I mean, their defense played well, but they outscore people too. They can score. Them boys got an offense, man. That offense is for real. Jamar Chase, y'all, all that preseason drop stuff, that was smoke. They pulled the wool over our heads with that one good. They bro, he wasn't dropping all them passes people were making. Bro, there's no way he went from that horrible, the way they were talking about him, to that amazing. That, bro, they sold us a bunch of malarkey, as Sheldon would say on Big Bang Theory. For y'all that don't know, that was a little TV show reference, but malarkey, bruh. Jamar Chase is the real deal. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, that team itself can score with anybody, and I feel like that defense just got a kind of a chip. They're not a great defense, but they got that chip on their shoulder. They, you know, that grit. If you kind of know where I'm coming from with that, and of course their coach. I mean, coaching says a lot. You know, when you have great coaching, a lot of things seem to come together. But Joe Burrow is the real deal, man, and I think the Cincinnati Bengals are the real deal.
So I agree. Joe Burrow is the real deal. I think Cincinnati Bengals are the real deal. But this is smoke when we're talking about them being the number 1 team in the AFC, and even in that division, because even though they're number 1 by ranking, Baltimore is still 5-2 right along with them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Buffalo is 4-2. I mean, I'm pretty sure we both agree that Buffalo is a better team than Cincinnati. Tennessee 5-2. I wouldn't say they're better than Cincinnati, but they're 5-2 and they've been playing well. So like Cincinnati to me is definitely a top 4 team in that division in the AFC. But I still will go Baltimore. At the end of the day,
did you see what they did to Baltimore last week?
I know, and that was a great win. I mean, they demolished them. They beat the dog crap out of them. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to playoffs, I gotta see it. I can't. If they're 5-2, and I gotta see them go through the rest of this year and see what they can do in playoffs. At the end of the year, if I had to make my prediction, I would say that Baltimore is going to end up being on the top of that division, and Cincinnati will be a wild card team. They'll make the playoffs. We'll see how things go with this extra playoff round. They may win the game, depending on what the season is. Who knows? But I think it's smoke right now for that particular part being at the top. But are they for real? Hell yeah. Is Joe Burrow for real? Hell yeah. 2 more years, we won't even need to do a fire and smoke segment on them because everybody gonna know they fire. No, definitely 2 years, maybe next year, but definitely 2 years. You know,
that'll be after this year. If you don't know by the end of this year,
Well, when I say 2
that
years,
the Bengals are good,
no. Well, not good.
You mean like Super Bowl
Coming
contenders?
into the league talking about who gonna win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl,
Cincinnati. Bengals. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I
like
give you that.
2 years at the most, but maybe next year.
And bro,
definitely 2 years. Definitely.
Who is the Bengals coach?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Because let me tell you something. All this stuff, all this stuff we're saying. I mean, I gotta look it up, bro, because I'm gonna let you know something. You don't
be the coach of the year.
But no, not even that. You don't change a culture that quickly. Zach Taylor is their head coach.
I don't know who the hell that is.
I don't even know either. But you don't change the culture of a team that quickly, usually. He used to coach, I think he coached at freaking Nebraska or something. Or that's where he went to school at. But my thing is, he was a college coach before. You don't change the culture and teams that quickly. They looked like a dumpster fire 2 years ago. I mean, a complete dumpster fire, like throw the whole team away. And it's like, okay, he's actually been in the league for a couple of years. He was the Rams assistant wide receivers coach, and quarterbacks coach, explaining why he's probably a good fit for Joe Burrow. He's been a quarterbacks coach and an offensive coordinator basically his whole career since he's been in the NFL. So it's working. He's doing something right.
A good coach and a good quarterback would change the culture like
quickly. That. Well, Sean Payton, Drew Brees. We all know how that worked out. So Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Yeah, so it happens.
Those are the two positions. You get those two positions right, your team will change immediately.
Drastically.
Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. You know, the list goes on and on. When you get them two players right, you can't be coaching wide receiver, can't be coaching running back. We've seen plenty of teams that have a stud running back and they can't get it done. Have a stud wide receiver, get it done. You get that wide receiver, you get that quarterback and that coach right, it will change your culture like automatically.
And look, we ain't even said the most important one.
Cool.
Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Andy Reid, exactly. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid.
Them boys going to the Super Bowl every year.
Exactly. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs, are they going to the Super Bowl this year? Fire smoke. Are the Chiefs even a playoff team?
Fire, bro. Come on. Let's just be realistic about it. I mean, maybe that argument is not as valid for me if you didn't add another wild card team this year. Chiefs going to the playoffs. And once they get there, look, they're having some down games, but Patrick Mahomes has looked back like Patrick Mahomes the last couple of games. So I don't think that's going to stop. Didn't look very good last game. Defensively, they got to shore up some stuff defensively, man. Because Tennessee, everybody don't realize this, but Tennessee beat them because they kept Patrick Mahomes off the field, which is what you have to do. Derrick Henry ran all over the field on him. when you got a running back that can eat up the clock like a Derrick Henry, they annihilated him. They just didn't have a lot of opportunity or possessions. And keep in mind, Tennessee don't have a great defense, guys. But when you don't get as many touches and as many possessions, those things seem to struggle. But I think it's completely. But I think it's completely smoke when you talk about are the Chiefs going to win the Super Bowl? But are they going to make the playoffs? The Kansas City Chiefs, as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, will be in the playoffs every year.
I agree with that. I agree that they're going to make the playoffs because when I'm looking at the teams that, I put over them, I got Cincinnati in, I got Baltimore in, let's just do division winners. I got Buffalo winning their division. That's 1. I got Baltimore winning their division. That's 2. I got Tennessee winning their division. That's 3. And I got the Chargers winning their division. That's 4. And then as the wild cards, I got Cincinnati in. That's 5. I got Cleveland in. That's 6. Now, who's gonna be that 7th? It's either gonna be the Raiders, is it gonna be Vegas, or is it either gonna be Kansas City? Because I don't think it's gonna be Pittsburgh. It's definitely gonna be nobody in the AFC East, New England, the Jets, or Miami. Well, I say definitely, but I doubt it. I don't see Indianapolis getting in there. So it's either going to be the Chiefs or Vegas, or the Raiders. And I mean, who knows? The Chiefs may just erupt and win a division. They are that talented offensively.
Yeah.
So I am worried. So
The
I will say
Chargers
it's
are in their
smoke.
division too. So
Well,
I mean,
I
that
got the Chargers
Chargers.
winning. I got the Chargers
Okay.
winning that
Oh,
division.
okay.
But
Okay.
I'm saying
Okay.
the Chiefs could definitely like just turn it on and end up winning a division.
Right.
But I got the Chargers winning that division, and either Vegas or either the Raiders or the Chiefs, and as a wild card because it's 7. So, hey, we apologize. The recording stopped. That's me with so much stuff on my computer, had insufficient space. But we are back, and we were talking about the Chiefs. I was in the middle of talking about why I think it's smoke, but why I'm worried about the Chiefs. So back to that. So I am worried about the Chiefs because it was more than just Derrick Henry running all over them. Like they put up 3 points. Like if the score was 20-27, I would be like, yeah, you're right. Derrick Henry ran all over the field. He didn't allow them to get a lot of possessions, but when they got possessions, they scored. The offense does not look good. The defense is terrible. That's been all year. But the offense does not look good. And that's the part that worries me about the Chiefs is that's your strong. That's like your offense is historic from the time that you've been in the league, Patrick Holmes, till like now. And if your offense is not working, you don't have prayer, you know. And if I see 2 more games where the offense is looking like this, then my opinion about them being a playoff team will like completely change. Right now, I still see them getting that 7 seed because the Chargers are not letting up. The Chargers are not going to let up. I still see them doing well. Tennessee's going to win their division. So by default, they're going to be in. Same thing with either Baltimore or Cincinnati's going to win their division. So by default, they're going to be in. At least that's my prediction. And because they're going to be so close, one of them is going to be a wild card. I think Cleveland is going to be right there with like they're 5-2, 5-2, 4-3. Cleveland is not going to slow down. The defense is too good. Their run game is too good. So, and Buffalo, they're going to run away with their division. Unless the Chiefs win their division, like get on a winning spree, I cannot see them making the playoffs if they continue to play the way they're playing. So right now, for me, it's smoke. They are a playoff team, but we'll see in a couple of weeks if my opinion about that continues.
Yeah, I mean, and I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. So, I mean, like I say, them being a Super Bowl contender, straight smoke. Playoff team, I'll give that fire. I still got faith in Patrick Mahomes, and I haven't seen enough. Need to get a few more games, like you're saying, to the season to see if this offense can figure it out. Which obviously, historically, they will. And I'm not just talking about when I say historically. I know they've been a great team, for a couple of years, but I'm talking about Andy Reid. Historically, Andy Reid figures it out. He's an offensive genius. So that's what I mean by historically, guys, when I say that. Andy Reid will figure out how to get this offense back going and start putting points on the board, in my opinion.
Yeah. So on to our fantasy picks, DFS. All our Louisiana people who playing DraftKings and FanDuel now, you can finally participate in this. We're going to give you our top DFS picks for each position for week 9. Week 9. So I'm looking at the quarterback position right now, and I love Tua against the Texans. Tua, when he plays against teams that are mediocre, this year he's played very well. The last 2 weeks he's played pretty good, and he's playing against a Texans team that is terrible. So I see Tua throwing for close to 300 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns, maybe run one in because he's been using his legs a lot lately. Gesicki is healthy. Waddle is proven to be a possession receiver, a beast, getting 8 to 12 targets a game. He is killing it. Devontae Parker's coming back, so that only helps. Myles Gaskin is catching balls out the backfield. He's running well against teams like this. So I definitely like Tua. And then how can I not like Josh Allen against the Jaguars? He gonna put up about 40 fantasy points. He's gonna run for like 60 yards, throw for 350, and throw like 3 touchdowns. This is, to me, it's like a no-brainer. He will be chalk, but he'll be good chalk. So those are the 2 that I like for week 9. What quarterbacks you like, man?
Quarterback wise, I'm gonna tell y'all this is gonna be a surprise one, and he's probably gonna be pretty cheap, but he's gonna be a value pick for y'all. It's a division game, but the Falcons still are trash. Jameis Winston. I like Jameis Winston this next week going against that Falcons defense. But the other player that I like, and I like a lot, and I'm going to tell y'all, he's going to be priced high, but he may be cheaper, a little bit cheaper this week than usual, is Kyler Murray. I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan, y'all. We struggle against Kyler Murray. I mean, he eats us up every time. The games are never high scoring. It may be 17-14 or something like that, but usually the 2 touchdowns that the Cardinals get are him running the ball into the end zone. So, I mean, watch for Kyler Murray. He's been killing it all year anyway, but he may be priced a little bit lower going against that 49er defense. And I'm going to tell you, he's going to eat.
Who you like at running back?
My running backs, Alvin Kamara, all day, every day. To me, he is going to be a must start. You need to have him in your DFS lineups. He is going to murder it against the Falcons. They are trying to integrate him more into the offense. If you haven't noticed the last couple of weeks, he is the man. And against that Falcons defense, he is going to eat. The other person that I'm going to tell you to watch out for, and it comes from the same game, both running backs, is Cordell Patterson. You can play him in the wide receiver running back position, but I like him as a running back because let me tell you, the Saints have a stout defense. They're going to use him out of the backfield a lot, catching the ball out the backfield. That's one of the ways that you can, in my opinion, offset because you're not going to throw the ball down the field against the Saints. Calvin really will be locked up. They will have to use Cordell Patterson as a receiver out of the backfield a lot to be able to compensate because you don't run the ball on the Saints defense either. So I think Cordell Patterson will be a high volume targeted person out of the backfield, and they will have to throw a lot because I do think they're going to be down against the Saints. They won't be able to move the ball very much against the Saints defense.
Yeah, for me, I like Aaron Jones against the Chiefs. I think he's going to eat. We've seen what Aaron Jones could do when he's featured. And even though Devontae Adams will probably be back by then, Aaron Jones is still going to be featured. So against a weak Chiefs defense, they're definitely going to prey on them. And then I like Austin Eckler against the Eagles. Every running back eats against the Eagles, and Austin Eckler eats against everybody. So he's definitely going to be a focal point in that game. I expect Austin Eckler to be top 3. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top running back that week against the Eagles. Wide receivers. So this is a I'm not gonna lie, this is not an easy one for me with wide receivers. So I was looking at the different matchups, and the obvious one for me is Stephon Diggs against the Bills because against the Jaguars, Stephon Diggs against the Jaguars. But I'm not gonna go with that one simply because Josh Allen's been spreading the ball out so much. Like Stephon Diggs is not that number one fantasy receiver that he was last year. He got Cole Beasley. He had him last year, but he got at addition of Emmanuel Sanders and the emergence of Dawson Knox, and then just Josh Allen being a better quarterback, spreading the ball around. He throws the ball a lot out of the backfield to his running backs as well. It's like, even though that's an obvious, that's like a clear pick. It's one that I feel like is not going to be the one that you need for daily fantasy. So I definitely will go with Devontae Adams against the Chiefs because, again, it's the Chiefs and it's Devontae Adams, it's Aaron Rodgers. He going to throw the ball to 2 people. And we know those 2 people are going to be Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. And mostly throwing it to Devontae Adams. And I got to go back to the Chargers and Eagles game. Mike Williams has been an absolute beast.
Oh, my God.
Absolute beast. And Justin Herbert is not going to stop throwing the ball. So I like Devontae Adams and Mike Williams on week 9 for daily fantasy.
And my 2 wide receivers is one of the reasons why I was telling you to try to give you some value picks at quarterback. And even if you can try to find some value picks at running back, because if you can figure out a way to stick Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp in your lineup. Well, no, I'm sorry. Cooper Kupp plays the late game. I apologize for that. So, with Devontae Adams, I kind of got to go back and look and see. But I'm going to tell you somebody else I like. And he's a value pick. A lot of y'all, if y'all haven't been watching this kid is good. And he's Mac Jones' favorite target, Jacoby Myers. The Patriots are playing the Panthers. The Panthers defense looked pretty good in the first couple of weeks, but they ain't that you can throw the ball on them.
Smoke.
You can throw the ball on him.
Smoke. It was all smoke.
No, you can throw the ball on him. So let me be clear about something. Jacoby Myers is the number one receiver in New England, and it's very, very obvious. And he's good. I didn't think he was good. I didn't think, what I saw last year obviously wasn't just him. He's good. And Mac Jones is the real deal. So, I mean, those are my two top receivers. I try to give y'all a lot of value because the obvious picks are, obvious. You know who the obvious picks are usually on a week-to-week basis. But sometimes you just gotta make sure you know that the obvious picks need to be in your lineup. Devontae Adams next week, like my bro said, needs to be in your lineup if you're gonna expect the cash, because he's probably gonna murder it. But you can definitely save some money and get some of those top tier players that we've been talking about by going with somebody like a Jacoby Myers. Even though he is a decent price wide receiver, you can still probably get him in the mid 6,000 range, and he's usually going to get you can almost guarantee double digits in these targets and usually fantasy points.
Yeah. And last, just one tight end that I like, Mike Gesicki. Again, I like
my God.
I like Mike Gesicki. He's been peppering between Waddle and Mike Gesicki. That's where all the targets go. My last game, Myles Gaskin got some, but in general, is Waddle, is Mike Gesicki. And against that Texans defense, I'm gonna have loads of Mike Gesicki that particular week. Any other tight end that you like in this game? Because I know that might have been the one you was gonna pick.
No, it wasn't. I was actually gonna go with Robert Tonyan against the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's out IR for the rest of the season towards ACL.
Oh my God! Oh my goodness! I didn't know that.
That's that injury that he had on Monday.
I got one just as equally valuable, in my opinion, to that, and that's going to be Dallas Goedert going against the Chargers.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be a great pick, guys. The Chargers do have a great defense, but if there's anywhere where they have a weak spot, it's their linebacker core. Their defensive backs are monsters. Those boys can ball. So he will probably be looking for Dallas Goedert a lot in that linebacker versus him matchup. Jalen Hurts is who I'm talking about, because I'm gonna tell you, he ain't throwing the ball downfield and throwing it to them receivers a lot. Even though I love Devontae Smith, he gonna be they going to get some bad boys on that outside. I can't think of the name of them doggone cornerbacks for the Chargers, but they good. They good, y'all. Yeah. So I love Dallas Goedert in that matchup.
Well, that's the end of our show, fellas and ladies and fellas. Ladies,
did you want to give a defense?
I don't typically give out defenses. I don't think we've given out defenses in the past. If we have, then okay, I guess we could give out a defense. I mean, the defense is so wishy-washy. Just for the folks out there, for me, defenses are based on price. I always go low my defenses and hope for pick six or kick returns, because it's hard to pick defenses.
And let's give them that advice. I think that's a good way to pivot, bro. Is just for y'all, the last couple of weeks we have given defensive teams, but usually those are obvious picks. Let's be clear about it. Look for teams that make turnovers. Like, for example, you might hear us say pick the Cowboys defense. Well, they still may give up points, but the turnovers is what, because let me explain something to y'all about DFS, especially for my Louisiana folks. When it comes to defense, a defense can have 3 points if the team just scores 10, 14. You don't get points from defenses unless they're getting sacks, interceptions, pick sixes, but you're really looking for not even pick sixes as much as you're looking for just sacks, fumble recoveries, interceptions, turnovers. But a high volume sack team can benefit you too, because if you have a team that give up 21 points and have 6 sacks, you still got 6 to 8 fantasy points from that team. So Cappel is completely right. When you don't always have to play the best defense, sometimes you just have to play the best matchup on defense, and sometimes you can find a lot of value. That's where you get your value at. Defenses is somewhere where you can always get value in DFS.
Yeah, and if you pay up for defense, like sometimes defense is like $5,000. Like if we're talking about, FanDuel, they'll be like 4,000, 5,000 are the top defenses, and then on DraftKings, like around up at 3,000 to 4,000 is the top defense. Really pay attention to those matchups. Like, really pay attention, because is it really worth spending up to get a defense when you could save those hundreds to thousands of dollars to get better players that's going to give you, 25, 30, 35, whatever points? No, defenses are not more normally not going to get you that.
You're the least
So
important
you can
position on
play.
the team.
I've seen people play like the dirt cheap minimum defense on a regular basis, like the Jets, and they still win lots of money because the Jets gives them 4 points. They have a couple of sacks. They may give up 25, 30 points, but they have a couple of sacks, maybe get an interception. And then if they get a pick six, that's all you need. So with that being said, if we're just going off of teams that got good matchups, depending on the prices, I don't know what the price is going to be. Saints against the Falcons. Saints have a hell of a pass rush. And even though it's a division game, the Saints has been getting to the quarterback. So they give you lots of sacks. They can give you turnovers because they have a great secondary. So the Saints is a good one. And the Bills, they're playing the Jaguars. Bills have an outstanding defense. Same thing. They have a good pass rush. They have a good secondary. So those are two. But I can guarantee you, those are probably two of the highest price defenses that you could go to.
Guys, when you pick your defenses, watch what quarterbacks they're playing. See if they're high volume turnover quarterbacks, because that makes a difference. When you're playing, it's probably not a bad idea to play a defense against Zach Wilson. Just to give y'all an example.
Well, that's the reason why I didn't say the Colts, because they played a Thursday night game.
But I'm just giving them not necessarily saying that team, just for an example. Teams, you're looking for teams that play against teams that have high quarterbacks that don't make very good decisions all the time.
Yeah. So, and lastly, let's go ahead and move to our L's. Let's go ahead and give out our L's. You got anybody holding the L this week?
Absolutely, 110%. Been waiting to give out this L. It's been on my mind. Been on my mind for a couple of weeks. Of course, y'all. We missed last week's show. We had some things going on personally to where we had to miss the show. So he would have got it last week, but he's definitely getting it this week. And this is a personal one for me. That's why I'm kind of going a little further into it, bro. I see how you're looking.
Yeah, Mike waiting on you to say
Shanahan. I know. I had to get all that out. Mike Shanahan, my coach, my guy. You're running our team horribly right now. Get it together, bro. We're better than we look. We're not a 2-4 team. And I feel like just watching you on the sideline and all the reports I'm reading, you're not in it. I've heard the comments about you weren't happy that they got Trey Lance. You really wanted Mac Jones and blah, 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 and this and this and that. And it kind of upset you. And it's over with now. You got him. He's really good. Get over yourself and let's get our team back to winning, bro. You are not all in this season. We can clearly see it. Any 49ers fans and people following you, we can see you are not bought into the season. Get it there, bro. I'm tired of seeing my boys lose. Let's go. Let's go. So, Kyle, you getting that L this week? Please don't let me have to give it to you again. Please, please, please. And Michael Rappaport, you get yours.
My L is a lot less personal. It's kind of funny. But my L is going to Ed Orgeron. And I know the news is old, but I still got to give him the L. So Ed Orgeron, as y'all know, has parted ways with LSU at the end of the year. They're going to part ways. It's a mutual agreement. But shortly after that, the news comes out that Ed Orgeron at the gas station, tried to holler at a young lady while he or she was pumping gas or something like that.
That came out before.
It came out before. Okay,
before he got out. Yeah, that was the final straw. That situation.
It was so he walks up to the young lady, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing what I read. He's like, hey, what's up, little mama? What you talking about? What's going on? What's your name? Give me your number. And she's like, well, I'm married. It's like, it got to do with me. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you got an old man. I don't care if you got a husband. Well, it turns out that this lady was a wife of somebody on LSU's board. And of course it got back to the board, and that was just like it. And I'm pretty sure when they say the last straw, of course you see his coaching hasn't been great. Like even when we won the championship that year, you clearly know it wasn't him. It was Joe Brady calling those running that offense, and what he was doing with that offense. It was not Ed Orgeron. No. he
It
gets
just
credit as a
wouldn't
coach.
have, it wouldn't have came out as soon.
But you know,
If
and
he
I'm pretty
wouldn't have
sure
did
some
that.
other stuff too. And I don't think it's just coaching. I think
Bro.
Aaron Rodgers been doing some stuff.
So
and they just like
that scandal with the covering up, whatever.
Yeah,
but the thing, he was getting fired regardless at the end of the year.
Yeah,
we all knew
yeah.
that. That situation got him fired mid-season. They was like, we ain't gonna even wait. We gonna let you finish it out, but bro, you done. You done.
Yeah.
That just made it like we gonna publicly put you out there.
I'm just gonna say last thing. Like I'm giving them the L because it's like it just seemed like Ed Orgeron is just like I don't give a fuck. You know,
Ed was living his best
You know?
life, man.
But truly, like mad props to Ed Orgeron. You know what I'm saying? That boy living his life. He doing his thing. He's like, you know, hey, that's your business. You got.
You know how much they settled
you
for
know
though?
I'm pretty sure it was a lot. That boy
$17 million. They bought him out for $17 million. Ed cool for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Ed Gucci.
You know? So, anyways, Ed, you know, you can hold the L, but in reality, you good, man. I ain't gonna lie. I like Ed Orgeron.
Much respect, bro.
If I was a coach, I would bring that boy on as somebody on the coaching staff just to go out and have a drink and just hang out and shit.
Yeah, because look, I don't care what nobody say. Yeah, Joe Brady was doing the thing, but Joe Brady was up in that booth. He was still a man on the team, on the field leading that team. And let me tell you something. You still got to have a head coach have the players buy in to what he's selling and want to play for him. And they clearly wanted to play for him. If you heard Joe Burrow comments a couple of weeks ago, his statement was
Ed Orgeron is go ahead. What was the statement?
His statement was, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be in the NFL if it wasn't for Ed Orgeron. He's the only person that gave me opportunity or believed in me. So not saying, you know, anything. You just, you know, Ed Orgeron was amazing for what he did.
Ed Orgeron is a leader of men. Ed Orgeron is a head coach, but he's the head coach that needs to have the personnel
around him
that makes the right decisions. He's going to bring the team together. Like you can be a person as a leader that brings people together, but if you don't always have the knowledge like to make decisions on certain things. And that's what it seemed like it is with Ed Orgeron. Like he's a motivator. He's going to bring you together. He's going to get you to buy in, but it doesn't seem like he's an X's and O's guys. He doesn't have that defensive knowledge. He doesn't have the offensive knowledge to be able to call the play. So that's what he's missing. And he don't have the people in place that's doing that successfully. If they were doing that successfully, we would still be looking at Ed Orgeron. People probably be talking about Ed Orgeron as a possible head coach. He could be that. You know what I'm saying? He just got to have the right pieces around him. And he don't have that LSU, once they left, LSU was 8-0, that was it.
If LSU was 8-0 right now competing to go to the national championship, that board of director just would have had a conversation.
Shit, if Ed Orgeron was 8-0 and they was competing to go to the national championship, whoever
we wouldn't even heard about
that at the gas station, she might not even told her husband. So let's just be real about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our show for today.
I like that one.
You know what I'm saying? This is Hold This L. This your host. I'm Cappel.
And I'm Lonnie.
And we out. Deuces.
Peace.